Hi guys. Okay, I'm going to start talking about travel and how I manage to travel because people have asked me, how do you do it? Because traveling is so expensive, and I am here to tell you it is not that expensive. So, the first thing I'm going to address is accommodation. There are different ways of getting accommodation, and it really depends on the kind of experience that you want to have. So, if you're going just for a vacation, there's certain types of accommodation you might be more interested in than in other types of accommodation. If you're older, you'll think of different type of accommodation. If you've got kids, there's so many different aspects to travel and the kind of experience that you want to have. So that's the first thing that you have to think about. The next thing is price and the kind of accommodation that's going to suit you best. So for me, I like to stay in places for a week or longer, and I like to cook for myself, and I like to have facilities like a washing machine, and Wi-Fi is really important for me. So there's different things, and you can usually find those criteria whenever you're researching where you're going to go. Okay, so in brief, I'm going to just go over these really quickly, and I'll put links in the bottom of some of the different ones. And then I'll do like another video down the line of, more in-depth things about the different accommodations. But this is just an overview so that you know that you have all kinds of options, mostly depending on the experience you're looking for. Okay, so first we're going with hotels, boutique hotels, bed and breakfasts, motels. Now, depending on where you are, there's going to be a variety of these different options out there. They are professionally run. They are quite often a little less personable, but you can get a lot of information and advice. They usually will speak English at the desk, at least some degree of English at the desk, so that you can communicate with them better. They'll call you taxis and all kinds of things. Some of the places don't have actual front desk staff, but I mean, it's all very different, and you really want to look at the description of the kind of accommodation. Those are all usually the more expensive things. But if you're going for a vacation and you just want to go in and have basically a bed and a washroom, some of them have like minor cooking facilities. Some of them, like the bed and breakfast, provide breakfast for you. There's usually a restaurant either close by or attached to the restaurant, or like right in the restaurant. It's usually, or in the hotel, I mean, they're usually in areas close to all of the things that you want to see in a city or whatever. So there are a lot of benefits and a lot of restrictions with it as well. But hotels and that type of thing, number one. Number two, my personal favorite is Airbnb. And that I will put a link in the description. Airbnb is a great, absolutely awesome platform where people who live in different areas will put up their spare room so that you can rent their room for a period of time. Now, because I like to stay for an extended period of time, the price actually will go down depending on how long I stay in a place. I generally look for places that have kitchen facilities because I like to cook for myself, a washing machine so that I can do my own laundry, and Wi-Fi. Those are the big things. I like either my own room or a whole apartment or whatever. Now, having said that, I want to point out a couple of things. I personally like to get to know my host, and I like it when the host, preferably a host family, but sometimes a single host, actually lives in the place that you're renting. I prefer that because I know the place is going to be taken care of. Now, I've been caught in a place where that wasn't the case. I thought the host was living in the place. I obviously didn't read the description properly, because it turned out that the place was rented by other tenants, and the host wasn't even in the country. So that caused some problems, and that's why I wanted to point that out. make sure that the host lives on the property, because then you know that they're taking care of the place, that the place is important to them. And they're always great for getting information about the local area, places to stay, or places to go and see, places to eat. If you want to go out to a restaurant, um, just all kinds of stuff. They're there for you. You can make great friendships that way. That's one of my favorite things about Airbnb, is because I've met so many wonderful people and have become really good friends with a lot of people I've met in Airbnbs, um, both other guests and the host themselves. So there's a lot of benefits to Airbnb. I highly recommend it. Um, and you get a really nice room. Like I'm staying in a really nice room right now. This is an Airbnb. They're generally less expensive than hotels or even boutique hotels or bed and breakfasts. Um, and you have all the facilities that you need just given to you. So it's, well, I mean, you pay for it, but they're all included. Um, so yeah, it's great. Great. And I will go further into Airbnbs in another video. Okay, next, hostels. Yeah, I know. There's this whole idea that hostels are for young people. That's not the case anymore. In fact, I've been told when I was staying in a hostel by a senior that there is actual hostels. She was telling me about one in New York that she went to stay in that is geared specifically to seniors. So now my secret sauce, my little tip for staying in hostels. So, like, okay, first of all, you have to look to make sure that there isn't an age restriction on it. Most of them don't have, but there are some that do, that keep it to just the young ones. Um, but if it's one that, anybody can go to, I highly recommend it because there's a lot of benefits to staying in a hostel. However, for the older people, over 25, over 30, and you don't want to get into like the total party scene, I would recommend staying in hostels during the week and doing an Airbnb or something else on the weekends. And here's why. The kids party on the weekends. The place fills up on the weekends. So it can be a lot noisier and a lot crazier on the weekends than it is during the week. Case in point, I stayed in a really nice hostel in Edinburgh, so we'd go back to that place in a heartbeat. But again, during the week, I had a 6-bed dorm room to myself because, as the girl told me at the desk, they hardly ever have anybody in during the week. Like they have in their mixed dorms, they do, but in their all-female dorms, which is what I usually go for, they don't. So, and there are different options in hostels. So again, I will go into more detail in another video specifically about hostels, but I would highly recommend going and staying in one. They're just great on so many different levels. Again, I've made really good friendships in hostels, people that I'm still in touch with today. So really great experience, and cheap, like dirt cheap. So then next, there's a thing called Workaways. Again, I will link that in the description. Oh, and with hostels, there's a platform that has a list of a whole slew of hostels all around the world. So I'll put that link in the description as well. Workaways. Okay, so with a workaway, what you do is you'll go and stay with someone. They will give you a place to sleep, like your own room generally, or a camper or whatever, and they feed you as well. So that's an awesome deal. You don't get charged anything for it. What you do is you exchange your work equity, sweat equity, and they give you the accommodation and your meals. I'll get into more details than that again some other time, but as an example, I had a friend that was doing one this summer, and she had people come and stay at her place. She gave them this really nice little kind of a hut to stay in, and she fed them wonderful vegan food because she's a vegan, and they were vegan. And they looked after her garden. They built her a garden wall and a little pond for, she now has koi fish. So they worked for, I don't know, 4 or 6 hours a day. They had the rest of the day, and not every day, And they had the rest of their day free. They had their weekends and various days throughout the week free to go and explore. And they got all of that freedom for a few hours of work while they were staying there, and they were there for, I think, a couple of weeks. So it's a really good exchange, and cost them nothing except, like I said, sweat equity. And finally, the completely free thing, and the only downfall to couch surfing, and no, it's not a couch, but I'll get to that, is that you don't want to overstay your welcome. So, 2-3 days is cool. Anything longer than that, and you might be pushing it a little bit. Now, couch surfing, there's a lot of people that have the wrong idea whenever it comes to couch surfing. Couch surfing is not a couch. It's usually somebody's spare room. But sometimes it is a couch, you just don't know. But you're going to somebody's place as a guest, and they're, giving you accommodation. Sometimes they even feed you, so it can be really fantastic. The thing about it is that you have to kind of plan in advance, and you have to, like, you go onto this website, and again, I'll do a separate video with the details, but what you do is you request going to stay at places. So you've got to write a bunch of like little emails to a bunch of different people in the place that you want to go and stay, and then hopefully somebody will be willing to put up with you. So I know it's all in the way I put it. But it's another good option. It doesn't cost you anything. To bring a gift or something that shows your appreciation for being allowed to stay in their house, because these are essentially strangers, soon to be friends, that you're going to stay with. And you have to be a very sociable person to do couch surfing for the most part, because it really is an exchange. You're exchanging your experience for their experience, and getting a place to stay in the meantime. So another really good option. So those are the types of accommodation that you can get for, all the way from expensive to free. So you just have to really think about the experience that you want to have and the kind of accommodation that's going to suit you. So again, I'll put a bunch of links down in the bottom so you can have a look at these different things. And the other thing is that I'll do some videos on each one of the different possible accommodations separately, so that this doesn't go on forever. So anyway, I would say pick your place wherever you want to go in the world, and then start looking at the possibilities of accommodation and get a really good idea of how much it's going to cost you, or how little it's going to cost you, because I think you might surprise yourself. So that's it for me for today. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. And if you do enjoy it, please like and subscribe and hit the little bell so that you don't miss anything. And yeah, if you want to support my work or the climb, the CN Tower Climb 2019, there are links below so that you can give a donation if you feel inspired that way. All the best, and I will talk to you soon.